Hey, Wellness Crew. So I'm going to give this a second because I have realized that there is a time delay. And this time delay affects the videos because I'll be talking and that's when it starts up when I look back to kind of check on it. So today, what we're talking about is embracing discomfort and living in the uncomfortable, and why this matters, why it's important, okay? Discomfort is something that all of us are always trying to avoid, right? We don't want anything that's going to make us feel uncomfortable. We want to avoid it. We want to have absolutely nothing to do with it because we are in this mode of living in comfortability, and that's a goal, that means when you're comfortable, that's abundance. That's not necessarily always true. So, learning to live in the uncomfortable can be transformative. It can be absolutely transformative. You learn so much from exposing yourself to things that make you uncomfortable. You learn a lot about yourself. You are able to have more personal growth, even if it's just a little bit of exposure, right? Even if it's not every single day, as long as you're doing it, as long as you're, going out there and confronting your fears, living in the uncomfortable, even if it's just for a little bit, you are transforming. It just depends on how much you're doing it, how quickly you will transform. And we all experience discomfort and uncomfortability at some point in our lives. It could be having an itchy outfit on, or like too tight of jeans, or it can be, having to be around people you don't want to be around. It can be pretty much any scenario you can think of that as it comes to your mind when you think this is when I'm so uncomfortable. If you're an introvert, right? And then there's all these people talking to you and it feels like all your energy is getting taken up. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Our instinct is often, maybe not always, but often to avoid discomfort at all costs, just like I said earlier. I mean, that is just what we are wired for because we live in a world now where we can have so much more comfort, right? Where even like a delay, I can actually use this like for me, but like when I'm posting a video or something, and for whatever reason it takes multiple hours, and I'm like, but I meant to post it at this time. It's like, okay, I could have just scheduled the post. I'm uncomfortable now because now I'm upset that what I wanted to happen didn't happen. I'm living in the uncomfortable. What do I do sometimes? I avoid it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to hide myself in positivity, right? And sometimes that is what that is. Sometimes it's not being positive just to be positive, but sometimes the positivity is to hide, is to avoid anything uncomfortable, anything that will cause us growth, especially our subconscious, because our subconscious wants that routine. It wants the sameness. It doesn't want change. It doesn't want anything to be off of the status quo, right? Oh, thank you. Oh, that's so sweet. um, So, discomfort isn't something to be feared. It isn't something to be avoided. Sorry, I'm just looking down at my notes. It's not something to be feared or avoided, right? Because this is what's happening. When we are setting ourselves, thank you, when we're setting ourselves up for fear, when we're setting ourselves up for um, fearing the uncomfortable. Well, what we're doing is we're making a mountain out of a molehill. That's exactly what we're doing. We're catastrophizing. We're making something so, thank you, we're making something so much bigger than it actually is. When if we wouldn't attach fear to the things that make us uncomfortable, unless, of course, it's like something major, right? And you may not be able to help it initially, right? You have to learn to work on that response and the reactiveness, right? But it shouldn't be feared, And yes, occasionally it can be avoided, right? Like, let's say that there's a certain time and place where you're like, okay, I'm around these certain people. I really don't want to feel uncomfortable on top of me already feeling uncomfortable. So, avoidance is going to happen sometimes. That's okay. But the point is to try to not live in avoidance and to go ahead and live sometimes being uncomfortable intentionally. So often enough, it's in the uncomfortable moments that we experience the most growth and the most transformation. Sorry, I'm trying to read my handwriting. It's like really bad. um so that's often when we do experience it the most, right? When we're uncomfortable, what we're doing is we're really stretching a rubber band, our rubber band. What does that say? Oh, hi, Mac. How are you? That's what we're doing. We're growing, we're expanding. Our energy is, maybe feeling not the greatest, but we're actually allowing ourselves to start to gain this resilience, start to gain like this ability to be able to protect our energy, which is something that a lot of people don't really think about. But on my next meditation video, I'm going to be doing a meditation with the energy and all of that, but also about creating that shield. So that way your energy is always protected and that you know the steps and what to do and how to get there. So, embracing discomfort is essential for growth. So, there sometimes will be like a catalyst. There will be something that will happen that will force you to have to change. Some big event, a small event, maybe intrinsically you just decide, hey, I'm not wanting to live the way I'm living right now. I want to grow, I want to expand. Well, what could you do? You could go and just try something new, something out of your comfort zone. Again, maybe it's just a small bit of discomfort, but you're still doing it. You're still attempting. You're still like trying to live a little bit in the discomfort. It doesn't have to be 24/7. I don't want anyone to feel tortured and uncomfortable all the time. All I'm saying is that there are things that make us uncomfortable that sometimes we're afraid to talk about. There are things that make us uncomfortable that we feel like we can't share with others. There are things that make us uncomfortable that are triggers for us. And so, in order to stop all of this from being a trigger, in order to grow from this, in order to see this as an opportunity for growth, we have to embrace it. We just have to embrace sometimes there's going to be discomfort. Be okay with it, be accepting of it. Okay. It's through discomfort that we break our old habits and challenge limiting beliefs. So often, I mean everyone, this is everyone, in my personal opinion. Everybody has limiting beliefs. Everyone thinks that they can't do something, or everyone thinks something about themselves that is completely and utterly not true in any capacity. It's just your own limits that you're setting on yourself. Maybe this stems from something that happened to you when you were younger. Maybe someone told you something and it just resonated with you for whatever reason. And so your subconscious like really absorbed this. So now this is a message that you're constantly telling yourself. Well, as I've said before, consider the source. Go back, revisit that moment, go back, revisit that memory, go back, revisit that feedback and see, was that even accurate? Why am I limiting myself to whatever it is? Why can't I follow and pursue my passion? Why can't I do something non-traditional? Or if you're an untraditional person, why can't I try something traditional, something outside of my comfort zone, something different? Why not? It's because of your own limiting beliefs. It's not because of anybody else. It's because of yourself. We build resilience when we sit with discomfort. And this is something that I was practicing today for about 2 hours. It was tough. There were some tears. I'll be real. It was like this like emotional catharsis, it was just like, okay, like I'm going to go to certain places that I typically don't want to go to in my mind, right? Because I'm like, that's in the past. I've been over it. And I realized I was like, there's certain things that I myself, I'm always a work in progress. There's always things that I have to work on. But I was like, I came to this full understanding of so many things. Oh, that's wonderful, Mac. I'm so glad to hear that. So, I just felt this like really deep catharsis, this like total understanding of why it is that, thank you, of why it is that I've had certain limiting beliefs, even though I thought maybe I had completely, vanquished them. I didn't. There was still some stuff resonating, there was still some stuff, but I was able to connect the dots. While I was connecting those dots, this is what happened. I was starting to kind of think like my subconscious, but I was thinking this consciously. And since I was able to do that, I was able to see and understand the pattern and where certain things came from and why I had thought, especially in the past, why I had thought things about myself that just weren't true. Why I was always limiting myself, whether it was because of a lack of self worth, a lack of understanding my value, a lack of a support system, right? Like of the type of support system that I needed at that time. Whatever the reasons were, that really wasn't what was important. It was that I was able to see and understand the pattern of why certain things will occur and certain things will come up and certain triggers will, happen. And I was just there for it and I was embracing it, accepting it, letting it happen. Like I said, it was a couple of hours, so it was a lot. But I was like, I'm not the kind of person to talk about something that I don't practice myself. Normally, I don't practice it for 2 hours, though, I'll be real, but I did today. And I'm so glad because I just feel like I learned so very much about why I was having these certain patterns and why I had these certain ways of thinking. And seeing now how much I've grown and why, like, I'm no longer in the places that I used to be, and I'm no longer in the feelings and emotions that I used to have. I'm not there anymore because I'm different. I've grown, I've changed, and that's going to continue to happen. We're all going to continue to evolve and grow, whether we want to or not, because we are all going to be in a situation where we're uncomfortable or we're experiencing discomfort. So we get uncomfortable when we're feeling a change or something new. And this is often where we can find our actual potential, right? So our true potential will typically come out of a difficult situation, a difficult um, family life, a whatever type of hardship it is, that's where that's going to come from. You're going to really see and understand, like, oh, I have the potential to do something I thought I would never be able to do. I never thought that I would be able to speak without a stutter back when I was 13 years old. I never thought that I would be able to um, have a wellness coaching business. I never thought that I would um, have the ability to do a podcast. I never thought that I would have the ability to do a YouTube channel. As small as it is, it means the world to me because I love helping people. But I was so limited in thinking of myself as someone that couldn't help others because yes, at that time while, I was a teenager especially, I was hurting and I was in pain and I was in that victim mentality. And that's just not who I am anymore. So I'm really glad that I spent that time in the uncomfortable. I am so glad because I was able to see all of my growth, all of my progress. And I promise you, if you try the same thing, maybe not for 2 hours, but if you try the same thing, you're going to have a similar experience. It is insane. And it truly, I mean, I'm not joking around, it is transformative, like completely. The other thing, too, oh, thank you. The other thing, too, is that we discover our strengths and our capabilities, right? So we have our potential, right, that we discover. We also see now where we're strong or where we've gotten stronger, and we see what we're fully capable of, right? So I have dealt with clients in the past that deal with like intrusive thoughts, things that are just very inorganic for them, right? Totally inorganic, things that just come up almost like mental Tourette's, you know? And when I was working with those clients, I just felt like, what could we do? What could we do? So my thought was, again, a little bit of exposure therapy, a little bit of like, okay, maybe your exposure therapy isn't about going out, isn't about being around people. Maybe your exposure therapy is sitting by yourself, sitting with your thoughts, sitting with your feelings, your emotions for 10, 15 minutes, and then going from there. Just 10 or 15 minutes and seeing what that does. Yes, you might start to get that panic. Yes, you might start to feel anxious. Yes, you might start to have all of those kinds of things because what is happening? Your subconscious is trying to sabotage this shit, okay? That's what's happening. Your subconscious is trying to sabotage it because your subconscious doesn't want to change. It wants the status quo, doesn't want growth. It wants you to stay the same. This is just how we're wired because it's a protective mechanism. So, in embracing discomfort, the first step is to acknowledge it and to accept it. So, this sounds really easy. It sounds so easy, like, oh, acknowledge it. Okay, I can acknowledge it. Accept it. Yeah, I can say that I accept it. No. I mean, truly and fully accepting it, truly and fully acknowledging it, living in your authenticity and being like, okay, something, some things may make me feel uncomfortable. Some things may make me feel a lot of discomfort, but I'm not going to let fear rule my life. I'm not going to let my subconscious rule my life. I'm going to live in the conscious, in my consciousness right now, the 5%. And I'm going to expose myself to these things. I'm going to expose myself to maybe things that at this moment in time I'm seeing as my weaknesses, or, again, just trying something new, trying something different, whatever it may be for you. But just getting to a place where there is uncomfortability, getting to a place of I can acknowledge that I'm going to try to live in this. It doesn't have to be for a super long period of time. Like I said, it can be like 15 minutes and you just kind of go from there. If you don't want to do it every day, then don't do it every day. But we are going to talk about doing it every day in a little bit. And then also allowing yourself to feel it fully without pushing it away or ignoring it. This is where meditation comes into play, right? So if you've ever meditated or if you've ever done any of my meditation videos, I don't, get too much into like clearing the mind and things like that. It's more guided meditations. But when you're able to have these thoughts that occur, right? And just acknowledge them and accept them. And then don't so much push them away, but just acknowledge them and be like, okay, I see that this is here, and let it go. Let it be free. If you're a meditator, then okay, this is great because that's the tool that you can use. Your meditation skills. You can use it for this, absolutely. It's integrated. It's perfect because you already know when thoughts pop up, that's normal. When you're meditating, when you're trying to be still and quiet, how long does it normally take us to get into that state? Probably about 10 or 15 minutes, if we're being honest. 10 or 15 minutes. If you've been like a long time practitioner, then maybe shorter, right? But typically it's about 10 to 15 minutes for most people. And then also like take small steps, intentionally going outside your comfort zone, just like I was saying before. Make it like a little, point in your calendar or put it in reminders or sorry, I have an Apple device, so everything's going to be Apple oriented. Make a note, whatever it is, set a alarm clock, right, on your phone, and be like, okay, I'm going to intentionally put myself in an uncomfortable situation. I'm going to intentionally step outside of my zone, out of my safety net, out of my, comfortable blanket, whatever it is. Even if it's just getting up like 30 minutes earlier, like that's uncomfortable for some people, right? There's some people that aren't morning, like they're just not about it. They're not morning people, and that's okay. It can be little things like that. It doesn't have to start with these huge, like life changing things. No, it can absolutely start small and then you can go from there. Also, the great thing about embracing discomfort. Oh, thank you, Sam. I appreciate you. Oh, that's very kind of you to say. Thank you so much. The other thing about embracing discomfort is that it builds confidence now and will make more significant challenges in the future seem so much easier. Why? Because you have practice under your belt. That's why. How do you get good at anything? Practice. Exactly, baby steps. You get good at something by repetition, by practice. I play the piano. It took me years and years and years to master it to a point, you know. I wasn't like Chopin or anything like that. I wasn't Bach, but it took me forever. And then I stepped out of my comfort zone the other day because I stopped playing for really silly reasons. And it was like I hadn't left. It was like the muscle memory was there, everything was there. And what initially made me feel uncomfortable, I was immediately taken back to all the enjoyment and pleasure that I was receiving from playing the piano as a child. And so stepping into being uncomfortable might actually lead you to something good, something that feels good for you, something that maybe you just didn't think that you could do because, again, you put a limiting belief on, you decided to wear that hat, and you were like, I'm not going to be uncomfortable. I'm not going to be anything. I'm going to avoid it at all costs. But because of the fact that you've been working on this, when you've been working on it, all the bigger things later on that you're going to tackle are not going to seem as difficult, are not going to be as uncomfortable because, again, you're doing the practice and you are doing the repetition, especially if you find a way to make this part of your routine. Okay, page 2. So shifting your mindset, right? So seeing discomfort, seeing uncomfortability as only a sign of growth as much as possible. I'm going to say as much as possible. Day one, I don't know. I don't know. But I'm not going to put that a limiting belief on you and say that it can't happen for you day one. Maybe it can. I don't know. I don't know what it is that you want to work on. We're going to get to that too. But the things that, make you uncomfortable, you have to just kind of shift. You just make that shift and understand, okay, this is growth. This is me learning. This is me taking advantage of an opportunity that before I was allowing fear to block, that before I was allowing my limiting beliefs to block from me. And you want to tell yourself it's okay to be uncomfortable, especially telling yourself you're safe. You're safe. Yes, it might feel uncomfortable, but just because you feel uncomfortable doesn't mean that you're not safe, right? A lot of this is in your mind. A lot of this is programming. A lot of this is not anything that you actively did. A lot of this is just stuff that has built up and built up and built up. And you haven't had the opportunity to tell yourself, hey, it's safe. It's okay for me to feel uncomfortable sometimes. There's no reason for me to panic. There's no reason for me to have all this, oh, thank you so much. There's no reason for me to have all these like overwhelming thoughts. There's no reason for me to have this closed off body language. There's no reason for me to try to protect myself in any capacity. I am safe. And especially when you've gotten to a place already where you trust yourself, right? and you keep your commitments to yourself. When you're there first, this is so much easier because now not only is your 5% conscious mind, but the 95% subconscious mind is actually going to believe you and might actually get on the train for change, which is amazing for the subconscious. um, and again, yeah, it's just part of your personal growth journey. It really is. It's just part of it. Or you can make it a part of it. It's your choice, it's your decision. It's up to you if you feel like it would be too overwhelming or if you feel like it would be too much. I want you to understand that your feeling is 100% valid, but that is a limiting belief. You can do it, even if it's 5 minutes. You can do it. I know you can. So, another thing too is to seek support so that way you can receive encouragement when things, thank you, when things are rough. Okay. So, if you're going through it, and thank you so much, and you need someone, you need that encouragement, you need, whatever, go to supportive family and friends, right? Or if you have a coach, go to your coach. Or if you have someone that you talk to about things, whoever that may be, go talk to them. Get some encouragement, get some positive feedback. Again, not that we need to like live off of that. We want to really be living off of our own feedback and our own intrinsic beliefs in ourselves and our values. But when you're living in the uncomfortable, sometimes you do want to just talk about it, and that's totally okay. Absolutely. So find someone that you consider safe, find someone that you consider, to be trustworthy and supportive, and that they're going to be encouraging. Go to that person and go talk to them about whatever it is that's going on. It doesn't even have to be about why you're uncomfortable. It can just be something else. But just make sure that you don't get yourself into a place where you're trying to avoid the feelings and emotions that you're experiencing from whatever it is that's making you uncomfortable. Okay? So, when you're living in the uncomfortable as a daily practice, okay, so like I said before, try something new, do something different. It can be just trying different food, it can be going somewhere that you don't normally go, it can be changing your style. I don't know. I mean, it can be anything, right? But just trying something new, trying something different, something that, yes, would make you uncomfortable. So, for example, right? Let's say that you're trying a new restaurant. The reason you don't want to go to this restaurant is because A, you're not familiar with what they have there, like their specific dishes. B, you don't like maybe, I don't know, the road. Hi. Maybe, yeah, say hi to a stranger. That's a great one. Oh my gosh, exactly. Things like that. Right, talking to people these are awesome examples, Sam. Thank you so much. I mean, any of these things, but when it comes to going to this restaurant, right? Um, taking a road you don't want to take or whatever it may be. On your GPS, if you have the ability to change your route of how you normally go to work or how you normally go to whatever it is that you go to on your, weekly routine, change the route and just see what that does. Even if it takes a little longer, give yourself that time, give yourself that, put yourself in those types of situations, put yourself in traffic sometimes. I know gas prices are kind of crazy, especially today because it's Labor Day. But like, put yourself in situations where, yes, you're going to feel uncomfortable or you're going to have discomfort or just, go ahead and try different things. They can be small, they can be big, whatever it may be for you. But doing this is going to just, again, grow your brand, grow your rubber band, stretch it. Writing, I'm not good with emojis. I'll be honest with you. I never know what emojis mean. So that's a really good question, Sam. Let me finish the next 2 points on, living in the uncomfortable as a daily practice, and then I will answer your question, okay? I will come back to it. Don't let me forget. So, maybe you could also do something like speaking up instead of remaining silent. So, oftentimes when something is happening, I would say, especially like in the workplace, right? A lot of people don't want to get involved in workplace politics, or a lot of people don't feel comfortable speaking up in a meeting or whatever it may be, right? So they're silent all the time in these things. They're avoidant of this type of interaction, they're avoidant of this type of dynamic. Speak up, say something. It's that simple. It'll be like 3 minutes maybe of discomfort if there's some type of pushback or if there's some type of whatever. But outside of that, that's it. It's 3 minutes of your day. I think you deserve to give yourself that gift of doing something that's outside of the norm, doing something that makes you feel uncomfortable so that way you can grow and you can learn and you can expand and evolve, okay? And then also going harder at your goals. So maybe you have goals, and thank you so much. Maybe you have goals, but they've become stagnant, or maybe you haven't been reaching them, or maybe you haven't been working towards them. Maybe you lost motivation. Again, you would ideally want your motivation to be intrinsic. But if you require external motivation, because some people do, some people need a cheerleader, I get it. I play that role all the time. Sometimes that is what you need. So find someone then, if that's the kind of person that you are, or if you're able to do it intrinsically, go harder on your goals. Understand that motivation is a choice. And it just simply is. If you take ownership fully of everything, you understand that your motivation, it's you. Now, there are people with chemical imbalances, okay? And so these people might have a more difficult time managing their emotions, or managing these feelings of, being overwhelmed, or managing change, right? So they have different treatment options available for them, right? And sometimes that might make this a little bit more difficult for them, because a trigger might, instantaneously start a panic attack, or there might be something with PTSD, or there might just be something with hyperventilating. What I do personally, because I used to suffer from generalized anxiety disorder, um, I do a lot of breath work. So meditation was super helpful for that. I don't know if he's a subscriber or not, but I had someone that suggested to me pranayama yoga. And so they have this breathing technique where you inhale and you close one nostril, and then you exhale and you close the other nostril. And for me personally, I have found that to be so incredibly helpful. But the biggest thing is breathing, because when I'm not in meditation mode, when I'm not in yoga mode, when I'm not in workout mode, I'm so focused on getting work done, or working with my clients, or being a mom, or taking care of stuff around here. I have like shallow breath, like really shallow breath. And it's hilarious because I meditate on a regular basis. So for me, it's all about breathing. And the other thing too is making sure that I am sitting up straight, that I'm not showing signs of discomfort, and that I feel as though I'm maintaining my composure, and I have open body language. I'm not like closed off or anything. I'm still open, even if I'm uncomfortable. I still stay in that realm, in that place, because I want to train myself to understand that I can still act and be the same way sometimes have some like inner stuff going on, but that's okay because I can get over it. And this is so rare now, but I just feel like it was such a precious gift today to spend 2 hours in that uncomfortability. It was just such a gift. I feel so like so much more in alignment. I feel so much more gratitude. I feel so much more like, okay. And it sounds so weird because it's like, well, are you a masochist or something? Because you spent 2 hours being uncomfortable and you're raving about it. And I'm like, I'm not a masochist. It's just I like to see growth and I like to see evolvement. And when I see something occur in just a 2 hour period of time, that's like a 12th of your day. Like, that's pretty amazing. So, I highly, highly, highly believe in this concept of living in the uncomfortable, of practice. Thank you so much. Of practicing it daily. That Texas accent was trying to come out. you know, um, even if it's for like 5 minutes, like I said. And it doesn't matter if you're starting off with this or if this is something that you try to do. Oh, thank you so much. That's very sweet. Yeah, I would appreciate the likes, honestly. Thank you. So yeah, it's just kind of one of those things where when you truly immerse yourself in it a little bit, or if you just do, a few minutes each day, right? Make it a part of your routine, or you want to make it a weekly thing, or you want to make it a weekend thing, or you want to make it a weekday thing. Whatever it is, that time is all going to add up anyways. So you don't have to do a real big chunk of anything if you don't want to, right? Another thing that comes to mind is like going to a party, right? Where you really don't know that many people, where maybe like one person and you're just like, oh, I don't know about this. And you're kind of sweaty a little bit and you're kind of like, oh my gosh, I have sweat going down my back. This is uncomfortable. But again, kind of like what Sam was saying, socializing, right? And going ahead, and even if you're not normally the initiator of a conversation, initiating a conversation, because you never know where that could go. It could go well, it could not go well too, but at the end of the day, does it really matter? This is one time, one moment of your life. Is this something that you're going to be, you know, thinking about resonating with for a long period of time? No, it was talking to a stranger. Think about the significance of that. It's a stranger. It's not somebody that knows you. It's not somebody that, you have history with. It's not somebody that, um, that there's anything with. It's just someone new, someone different, maybe someone you can actually connect with. You never know. So it's really important to trust yourself to navigate through periods of discomfort. So, what does that mean? That means feeling like you're truly capable, like your body, your mind, everything is on lock to be able to handle this. And this is one of those times too where it's almost like you kind of can fake it till you make it if you keep up with the affirmation of, I trust myself to be able to handle this. I trust myself to be able to handle this, right? And just keep on telling yourself that, but really trying to come to this center of belief. When you get to that center of belief, that's where things change for you because your perception is changing. And then you're like, okay, I can actually trust myself to be able to do this. I can trust myself to be able to honestly handle it and not go off the rails, or because that's our fear. It's just our fear talking. Oh, if you go and do that, you know what happened 10 years ago? No, that's just fear. That's just limiting beliefs talking. That is not currently factual. It is not currently accurate. Yeah, meditating is really, really good. It's super helpful. Okay. So basically, my question for y'all is like, what was a moment of discomfort that caused growth in your life? if anybody wants to share. If not, I completely understand, but this also would be your opportunity to speak up in a way. Can you think of a moment where something that made you feel so uncomfortable actually led to so much growth? If you want to share, you can. If not, there's no judgment here. There's never judgment with me. I get it. Opening up is difficult. Talking about personal things, especially on the internet, is difficult, right? Sharing a story is difficult. That's a great example. Yeah. Yeah, those are great examples. Absolutely. Yeah. So, right. How uncomfortable was that? That experience, right? How uncomfortable is that? When I was a personal trainer, I was not fired so much, but it was like a more of a mutual, like, we're not compatible. And that wrecked me for a while. Like, that truly wrecked me. I mean, this was like 10 years ago, but it wrecked me. And I was like, what happened? And, what was going on? And I was able, and yeah, so just like Sam, I was very much able to parlay the skills and everything that I have learned in that profession and in all my other jobs prior to that. I was working 3 jobs when I was 15 years old. So, Texas labor laws back in the day. um, but, I just always had this like drive, and even if I didn't at the time have all of the understanding of my value and the understanding of my self-worth, I was able to move forward. Thank you. Yeah, I was able to move forward. I went into a different profession, but I'm so glad that I was able to come back into coaching and to come back into really helping people, because a personal trainer, if you don't know this already, a personal trainer, yes, are they there to get you fit? Sure, of course. But they are therapists. They're the ones that are listening to all of the stuff that's going on. That's why you sign a HIPAA confidentiality agreement, or you should be. If you have a personal trainer that did not make you sign one, that is a problem, because they can say whatever they want. So if I were you, only go with a personal trainer that makes you sign some type of confidentiality agreement. But yeah, and I think for me, let's see, a moment of discomfort that caused growth in my life. It was probably leaving a relationship. Yeah. Actually, probably several relationships, like 2 or 3 of them that were particularly sticky. Having that faith in myself. And in one particular situation, I basically got a job, saved up enough to get my own place within like 2 months, because it was during the holiday season and they needed people, and I was working like 60 hours a week. It was insane. And so yeah, I had enough, and 2 days before my birthday, which is on February 10th, I got my apartment and me and my son moved out. So it was like one of those things where it was like, when you make a change, like, yes, it's uncomfortable. When you're getting out of a sticky situation, yes, it's uncomfortable. It is incredibly uncomfortable. But what are you afraid of? Are you afraid of being alone? Are you afraid of that lack of companionship? See, I guess the reason that I wasn't was because it was such a volatile thing when it was just me and him alone. So, I had to kind of go through and endure a lot of negative stuff. I'll be real with you. Um, but ironically, that was kind of the catalyst for me learning, like, oh my gosh, but this is what this is what I'm worth. This is how I should be treated. This is, you know, like, what he's doing has nothing to do with me. This is his projection. He sees me as a mirror. And that's what a lot of people do. A lot of people just see you as a mirror. They're just projecting their own shit onto you, you know? So I was the person that everything got taken out on. And I was like, no, I don't, I'm supposed to be treated this way. I'm supposed to be around someone that's uplifting me, that's supportive of me, especially with, the stuff that I do and the type of person that I am. Um, but it was really hard for a while there because I was with that person and then I was like, nope, and left, and then felt like I had to go back because he needed help. And, you know, again, there was consequences for that, long-term consequences for that. But I'm so grateful that I chose to take the route that was not secure, right? To take the route of, I can take care of this. I can take care of myself. I can take care of my child. I can take care of whatever I needed, whatever I need to, right? I don't have this limiting belief that I'm everything that someone said I was. Yeah, so being a people pleaser, Mac, that's a big, big killer. That's a big killer of growth. When you're living in that world, and I did too. Oh my gosh, I did too. So, like, for probably longer, the majority of my life, I was a people pleaser. I was very much raised where there's very high standards, I guess, is the best way for me to say it. So I always felt like I had to make everybody else happy, that it was my job to ensure, even as a child, that the adult relationships that were going on in my personal extended family, that they were all taken care of, as if I had any control over that at all. I didn't. But as a child, for some reason, I just thought that. So that carried on with me for a really long time. And so then I was always trying to be that person. I was always trying to fix everything for everybody else. But what I was doing was spending so much energy on all these people and so much energy on all these situations where it was like, I don't have anything left for me. And I had to see and understand that I have to put myself first, right? Just like when you're on an airplane, the oxygen mask drops down. You put the mask first on yourself, then you put it on whoever's with you, right? So there's a reason for that, because you have to be okay to have others be okay and for you to be in a position to protect other people. Yeah, so worrying about people's opinions, that's a big time energy waster. Sometimes I get bummed out when I see that like people will go and dislike some of my videos, I'll be real. And I'm like, I don't think I've ever disliked a video or content from any creator on any platform. The only thing I've ever disliked is comments from certain people in the past until I changed the moderation to strict, and that made everything better. But I just, I since I wouldn't do that, it's hard for me to get into the perspective of somebody that would be like, "Oh, I don't like this." Like, okay. I mean, I don't know. The great thing is it's anonymous, so I don't know who's doing it. It's fine. But that was something for a little bit that I was getting like hung up on. And it just, I don't know, the what people think, it's like I know what works, what has worked for my clients, I know what's worked for me. That doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody, but so far I've seen that it works for the vast majority of people. And I do put a lot of time into this because I do strongly believe in helping people, but I also have my limits. So there's going to be some weeks where I'm not going to post very much. There's going to be some times where I'm not going to put a whole bunch of energy into this because I have to save my energy for myself and for my family because they come first, even before my clients. Like my family will always come first for me, and I will come first for me because I'm the one that's in charge of that. Nobody else is. It wouldn't matter if I had a partner or not. Okay. So outside of that, are there any questions anybody has? It can be on the, oh, thank you. It can be on the topic, it can be maybe not so much on the topic, but I probably have like a couple of minutes. So I can definitely answer, questions. I'm not going to answer like wellness coaching questions. That's what I made the like there's that join button, right? So there's the top tier, and when you go to that, there's actually 2 to 4 live streams that are just for those members where I do Q&A of wellness coaching in its entirety. Like whatever questions, like I'm there for it. And it's way cheaper than my actual coaching prices. But I wanted to be able to provide something for people who wouldn't normally be able to afford a coach like me. Um, So I'm not like a licensed therapist or anything, but what I will say regarding generally is I see a lot of people that I think were told that they had something and it created a limiting belief. And so they're stuck in those symptoms. And the reason that I say this is because in the past, I was diagnosed with several things. And I was like, oh, okay, it was like this new identity just latched onto me. And it didn't really resonate with me though, because it felt like, I don't think this is accurate. Also, I was like a young teenager. I was going through my hormones and all that. So, it's like, oh my goodness. Um, so I have, over the course of the last few years, have really worked on eliminating all of those types of beliefs and those thoughts, right? And of course, if somebody needs to use, talk therapy or medication, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that in any capacity. They are tools as well, and if that's what you need, then that's what you need, because some of us do have imbalances in our brain, like that is absolutely true. Or if you wanted to see it from this perspective, you could say no, that's a limiting belief as well. You can see pretty much everything as a limiting belief, and then you will not even believe the things that you can achieve when you truly believe that you can do something. Like you just grow and grow and grow and grow. How do I not? Okay. So I think it's just been repetition. Um, Before I was live streaming on YouTube, I was live streaming on Rumble. So I already had the practice in there. Also, too, being in the industries I've been in, primarily with coaching, it's like part of the job was to, be an active listener and to respond and to make sure, that everything was very copacetic. Well, at least according to the workout. um, what makes people well, I mean, it can if you allow yourself to believe that that's what it does. That's the best way I can say it to you. And I know that that sounds a little out there, but if you truly believe, if that's your perception, then that's just how you're going to see it. Um, you could tell yourself over and over, I'm just feeling this way, but this is not accurate. I feel this way, but this is not accurate. This is not actually who I am. I am not socially awkward. I am not, whatever it may be. So it's really simple. Affirmations are incredible and amazing. They completely changed my life. I highly, highly believe in them and suggest them to all of my clients for sure, all the time. And they're like, can you just shut up about the affirmations? And I'm like, No, it's made too much of an impact and difference on my life, and it's gonna make one on yours. Just listen. you know? So, you know, there's differing degrees of people and where they are consciously. So some people consciously cannot and are unable to like accept this information that I'm providing to them. There are people that will never join my channel because they can't accept what I'm offering and what I'm about. It they can't they just can't accept it for whatever reason. So I have to understand that, right? Like, not every person is meant for everyone, right? Sometimes it's like you're going to have a smaller group, a smaller community, and that's 150% fine with me. Um, I'm not trying to like get big or do anything like that. I just care about helping people, especially people that have stuck with me for, a minute. And that's the biggest thing. And it's very rewarding to be able to provide tools that I wish that I would have had when I was younger, because I'm 35 now. I know I look younger, but I'm 35. And so if I had been presented this stuff when I was, younger, I really hope that I would have been open enough to receiving it and into accepting it. And sometimes, it takes watching something a couple of times to be able to fully receive it and accept it. Or it's just not for you. And that's fine too. A lot of people really don't like the idea of limiting beliefs. They don't like the idea of having to take accountability and take control of what is in their control, what is in their wheelhouse. Um, I'm living proof that you can have a lot of difficulties in your life and still be okay and still be, fully functional, um, fully aware, um, positive, know my value, know my worth. Like, all of those things that happen to me, they don't affect me because I don't allow them to. It's a choice. It's a choice, and it's hard to see it like that at first. When you're practicing it at first, it's not easy to see it that way. It takes a lot of just a lot of mind shifting. But when when you're truly able to, oh my gosh, like, your life is just so much better. It's amazing. Yeah. Yeah, I think the pandemic had a big effect on the I'll say the rise in diagnoses, but I'm not going to say a rise in mental health issues, but I will say that isolation is not good for anybody. Even if you're an introvert, isolation isn't good. Um, yeah, once I hit about 32, I started to feel life going super fast. So I was like, well, I'm going to do what I want, when I want, the way I want to do it, because I feel like I know what I need to do to achieve the goals that I want to achieve. And it doesn't matter at what age you're starting at. I'm so proud of these people that are in their like early 20s and they're making six figures. And I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. Um, but that's their life, that's their path. My path in my life, especially according to my human design, is that I'm in the stage of being a role model, of being somebody that's helping, of being someone that's providing information and opportunities, and trying to be as clear and concise and make it simple instead of making it super difficult, right? That's my aim. But sometimes, I get sidetracked or whatever. But it's just trying to keep things simple and easy so that way this information can reach as many people as are tuning in. That's pretty much it. Um, and another thing too is I know that live streaming later in the day would probably be better and more people would be able to hop on. Um, that just wasn't going to work out for me today. So it's like, well, you can always just watch the replay for sure. So, outside of that, if there's no other questions or anything for me, then I'm going to say I'm going to let everybody go. Thank you so much for participating in the live chat. Please consider joining. It would mean the world to me and it would really help me out. And that's what I'm doing right now, sweetheart. I don't right now. Like I do sometimes, but it's honestly based on my children's schedule. So that's why. Oh, that's cool. That's great. All right, guys and ladies, hopefully. Thank you again. Please consider joining. Please like and subscribe. I appreciate it. And I hope that everyone has a wonderful day. I hope that this has been helpful because it's incredibly important to be able to embrace discomfort. And once you reach that level, you're going to see so many changes happening, so many growth opportunities just arriving at your doorstep. And I'm not talking about manifesting or anything like that. I'm talking about in all sincerity. So, again, thank you. I'll see you on the next live stream. Be well and stay wild.